Alright, so not any of my videos really have a script or anything like that, but this one, I don't even quite know exactly what I'm thinking yet, but a lot of people were asking me so far, because I have quite a few TwoSuns, and I'm going through a lot of the overviews, kind of what my top 5 or 10 were. And it is pretty difficult, but I think I've narrowed it down to 10, and then I have like 3 little honorable mentions that I'll bring up here first. So the first one that I have in the honorable mentions is this tiny little guy from Wong's, the TS158-CF. Itty bitty little guy. Carbon fiber scale here, titanium on the back, nice pocket clip. I would still call that a drop point, but I guess since it comes acutely, you might call it a modified reverse Tonto or something like that. I don't know, but this is does a really good job of being a 3-finger knife. Very nice and comfortable with that. A very capable and decently long blade to go along with it. Nice flipper. It does have a fuller on there, but I can't really get my finger in there. That's okay, though. Yeah, this is just kind of an example, really, of the kind of designs that Wong can do that, while they're not all enormous, but he does make quite a lot of large knives, that, he does know what he's doing with ergonomics, and, yeah, it definitely shows with this one. It's a joy to carry. It might not be the most drop-shutty one out there, but I think a lot of that probably also has to do with the fact that, the blade's just not nearly as long as some of the others. Alright, so the next up in the honorable mentions is another Wong, and this is the TS89. This is a G10 version. I guess many moons ago they made them in titanium as well. Both of them, I do believe, were in D2 steel, though. As is this one. Yep. This one is just a nice, really neutral handle. Pretty darn comfortable. The blade just has great geometry. I've done some cut testing on this, and this thing put up some ridiculously high numbers for cutting. Nice action on there, probably because it's got quite a long blade on it. But it also has a titanium milled pocket clip instead of one of the folded over deep carry steel clips that they do. So yeah, this one's really fantastic as well. All right, and the last of the honorable mentions here, and this one's quite new. This is the TS219 or Nightstalker from Jelly Jerry. This guy has 14C28N steel. You can see we kind of have a compound grind here, but it is, as near as makes no difference, more or less a visual compound grind. It's not ridiculously thick behind the edge like something like the Viper is. It does kind of remind me of the Viper, but the ergonomics, at least for me, have been quite a bit improved. It is a little bit larger as well, but yeah, I super like this thing. Fits in my hand, super nice. It does have a very late detent, which is a little sad. And if you can overcome the detent there, you can spidey flick it, but it really depends on how strong your detent is. This one in particular, not exactly the best there. Pocket clip's great on it. This one does have some little bit of a detent lash, I think is the correct term, or detent slop, whatever you want to say there. And out of the box, this thing did have a little bit of blade wrap on the bottom back spacer of the titanium, but once I sharpened them up once, I haven't had any problems with it since. And yeah, I definitely snapped them closed too. So, yep, that's kind of there for the honorable mentions. Okay, so these are kind of a loose number, but kind of in order, I suppose. And this first one's probably going to surprise quite a few people, probably because they're not all that familiar with it. It's this guy right here. This is TS57, It's from Night Morning Design. Titanium frame lock in D2 steel. Very, very nice and slender, which is pretty fantastic. It's got a fairly thick blade stock, but man, yeah, they were really flexing on the tolerances on these guys here. They've certainly done that on some other ones as well, the Sabertooth and the Silverback really do come to mind. But hey, this is kind of one of their mid-grade ones from way long ago that does that as well. But yeah, I really do like how nice and thin this thing really is. It sits really comfortably in your pocket. The pocket clip works super great on there. You have a nice amount of pocket clearance for it. And once you pop it open, even though it does look kind of small, I can still get a nice comfortable 4-finger grip on there. And the blade geometry does a pretty nice job. Kind of an upswept saber grind going on there. This is one of their earlier ones, so it's not quite as laser beam focused down there. But hey, I've sharpened it to 17 degrees per side, and this thing cuts exactly like how I'd like. So this is a nice, fantastic, lighter carry. Even though you might want something with quite a long or quite a thick blade on there. So that guy's really nice. All right, moving on to number 9. I have a Max Chachuk design here, and this is a TS117 Grandpa. Now, they have just recently started to bring these out in M390 steel. I personally don't have any intentions or wants to upgrade because, well, 14C28N does a damn good job anyway. And so for me, I would kind of view that a little bit more of a side grade rather than an upgrade. But there you go. This thing just has really nice ergonomics going on with it, and a very old school book style, well, stylings on it. Fairly clip point sort of thing. So it does, I guess, remind you a little bit of that Buck 110 or 112 Ranger. But, you know, obviously it's not a lockback. It's a subframe lock. But this thing is just really nice to hold in the hands. It is a little bit thicker than it might seem otherwise, and nice and contoured. So it is very, very comfortable in there. It does have a tiny little pivot in there. This is a 4mm rather than the 6mm ones that most TwoSuns do, but that's kind of a Max Chachuk sort of thing here. Yep, if I didn't mention it, 14C28N. Yeah, I did. 14C28N. And it's got that Foley there, which also, if you're not trying to do it vertically like that, is pretty darn easy to do that reverse sort of thing, as well as just roll them out there. I really do like this knife. Cuts really darn good. They did a good job of getting a nice choil kind of ground in there. The flipper tab works great. It's a nice kind of a smaller one to carry around with you, especially if you're feeling a little more old school. All right. Next one, we have a Jelly Jerry, and amazingly, just kind of looking through everything, this is the only one that's made the top 10. I did have that Nightstalker that was part of the honorable mentions, but it's this one, the TS216 Lovebird. This thing, it does a great job of just being a knife. You know, there's not a whole lot that makes it stand out and look super outstanding and crazy and whatnot. Yep, whatnot, there's that word again. But this thing, it's just a really nice, fantastic knife. It's fairly slim in the pocket. It's got the wire pocket clip on there, which is kind of a first for TwoSun. I do wish it was a little stronger, but yeah, what are you going to do? Nice frame look. This is kind of a smaller sort of knife than probably a lot of them that are going to be on the list. Yeah, just a little over 3 inches there. But very, very comfortable in the hands, and actually fits all 4 fingers, which I absolutely appreciate. I also really like thumb stud knives. Usually doing something like a cutout like this, like the CRKT CEO and some others like that, isn't usually my favorite because it kind of does leave out the lefties a little bit. But yeah, I really do like this thing here. It's also in 14C28N. Just a nice little EDC that's yep, on the smaller side, so nice and comfortable to carry for a wide variety of people and hands. All right, next one coming up here. This is the night morning design. This is TS111 Baleen. This is a carbon fiber scale here on the front, blackened titanium on the back, frame lock in D2, Warncliffe blade shape there, and this is a sway back. And it's a bit larger of a sway back than a lot of the others that kind of started to follow that trend. However, they did follow that trend a little bit after this one came out. So, you know, if someone was thinking that these guys were jumping on the hype train that Spyderco and Swags had kind of brought out of some different things recently. Nope, this predates it. But so there is definitely that. I really do like this thing quite a bit. It's fairly thick up there. You know, a high saber grind to it. Decent behind the edge there, especially after I've sharpened it up. It does have a finger choil there, but it's a little small for me personally. But I don't necessarily mind that because it's really nice and comfortable behind there as well. Something I also really appreciate about a swayback design is kind of holding it backwards, a little bit like a paring knife if you want to loop something around to cut it. Very comfortable that way. Pocket clip on this thing is quite good. I really don't have any other complaints or you know, merits I could really go about from this. It's also kind of one of their older designs that's been out there and about for quite a while, so these things are quite obtainable. You know, a lot of the newer TwoSun models have really crept up in price. A lot of them are still selling for well over $100 a piece, which is you know, maybe hurting my wallet just a little bit. But these ones are still easily obtainable for about 50, maybe 60 bucks. Also, and if you really want to get fancy with it, from time to time they do make a variant of this with S90V steel rather than D2 here on this one. But either way, you get a really nice functional knife. Really nice and strong. Great action. There you go. Alright, moving along with TwoSun, we have this guy here. It's a little bit more of a budget one. This is TS66, the G10 variant, obviously. They do make an integral titanium version of that. I still really do want one, but you know, definitely looking for one to come across that's affordable. That would be you know, super nice. But in the meantime, I have purchased a couple of these. I did actually give one to my sister for Christmas last year. Kind of the reason being is, well, it's a nice knife in general, but she does landscaping and other outdoor activities. And, well, basically you have the combination of blue, which is pretty rare to see in nature. And if you do, it's usually flowers or something like that. And white, which also really stands out if you're, you know, you have it on the ground or things like that. So this thing, without being orange, which is usually associated with hunting and stuff like that, still really visible outdoors. But the ergonomics on this thing are absolutely great. This blade is just a beast for being able to take care of absolutely anything you want to power through. Super nice and comfortable, fairly thin on the front there. And you can also swap the clip for it to be left-hand carry, which is, that's a nice touch for me. Yeah, and the blade is, you know, long and heavy, so that does help with the action there. And, yeah, I do like the variety of ways that you can open that without, you know, doing things that, you know, the designer might or might not have intended originally. All of them feel super nice and comfortable as I fail the Spidey flint there. But yeah, this thing for a little bit more of a budget option is a fantastic knife, and eventually one of these days I will get my hands on an integral version of it. Okay, the next one we have is from Wong, and this one quite a bit newer. This is the TS316. Kurt Chung. This is another Warncliffe, but quite a bit different from that swayback I had just taken a look at. This does have thumb studs. As you can see, if you get up super nice and close, they aren't actually used as the stop pin on there, but they are very close. The stop pin on here is internal to the blade, so you don't have something sticking out the back there, but it is nice and covered up on all sides. This is basically 4 slabs of titanium with a nice titanium backspacer on here, and really nice comfortable clip going on with it. Like I say, I really do like thumb stud knives. It's what I kind of grew up and everything long before flipper tabs were really kind of coming up in the game, or if they were, it was the back tab and like a Kershaw leak to help with the speed safe assist instead of it being, you know, the other on their own things. Now this one is purple. That's the original version that they come in, and most of them have been sold that way. They have a couple of them that have been in green, and green basically means that they've put about the maximum amount of voltage into the anodization process that you can before it would cycle back through. So a little bit higher voltage, it ends up being green, but you know, I really appreciate purple. I do like the design aesthetic with the pentagons going on here. And you know, the breaking off of one from basically each side of those, and the pocket clip works great. The other thing about this thing is it is ground like a laser beam. This thing is a slicing machine, and yeah, it's quite large, nice and thick for carrying in these big old meat claws here. And, well, it doesn't have a finger choil. It does have a very nice, comfortable, and indexable way to choke up on the blade for doing some more intricate work, if that's what you want to do there, even though a lot of times I'll do a pinch grip if I'm trying to do something a little bit more detail-oriented myself. But, hey, works in all of those situations. So, if you don't mind something being a little bit on the thicker side, this thing is absolutely fantastic. Alright, next up we have a Mods von Mokhtar, and this one's quite new as well. This is a TS270. It's quite a bit like the Bowhead. This is obviously several years newer than it. And it's not a titanium integral, but it does a pretty darn good job of doing a lot of that same sort of thing there with, yeah, these 2 pieces of titanium that are seamed there in the middle. You know, it's not absolutely seamless, but it doesn't need to be. It just needs to act the way it does, and you know, it's not egregiously out of tolerance. It's quite nice. Pocket clip is interesting. I'm not super crazy about the little ball sort of thing that Mazwan's been doing on his pocket clips for these ones, but that's all right. So yes, this one is very sheep's footy, as is the Bowhead. This one's in 14C28N. Really nice ergonomics. I like the gentle slope up there with the jimping / crenellations, whatever you want to call that there. Works out super nice. I like that up curve to the grind line there, so you do have a little bit more steel back here than you do up here, so it does a little bit better job of slicing up towards the front half of the blade than it would on the back. But you have a little bit more power back there for really kind of getting through things. Finger choil on this guy works. It's a little small for me, but I generally don't use them anyway. And the action on it quite nice. But a lot of it that I do appreciate is having basically an enclosed blade on the back end side. I'm used to that on a lot of my knives that I've had long before I was collecting TwoSuns, and that makes me happy. But because of that, some people will probably not like it because, well, it doesn't have a flipper tab on there. And that was to basically try to incorporate a little bit more of that finger choil without losing an incredible amount of blade there. Okay. I love it, and this is my list, so it's on there. The next one is from Tepe Design. This is the TS261, and wow, is this thing ever a beast. Kurt Chung, you can see this is a fairly aggressive looking clip point to it, but the clip doesn't really have much that's cut down there. We just have a large swedge going on here. This is also a titanium frame lock. This one is an S110 steel. Mine is number 131 here, and I have done several cut tests on this, and at present this beats out every other knife that I've done any cut testing on. It's also the only knife I have an S110V, but yeah, it has beat out some that are supposed to be better or right around that same kind of thing. You know, like the Spyderco Manix 2 and M4, that one doesn't do all that great. Spyderco PM2 and Crewwear does pretty good, but it did less than half of what this thing was able to cut. This thing is just a powerhouse. And after doing so many of those cut tests, it's like pretty close to 3,000 cuts of... no, close to 4,000 cuts of twisted sisal rope. Yeah, I got some of it just laying here. I can definitely say that this blade does a really good job. It's probably a little softer than what Spyderco ends up doing on their CPM 110V models, which are usually the ones in the blurple handles, the blue/purple ones, which are great. But a lot of people do have problems with the Spyderco ones being a little too hard, and that kind of makes S90V and S110V kind of chippy. I really haven't had any problems with this one, so that's what makes me think that this has a little bit softer on there, but still, the edge retention on this thing is great. And the ergonomics for it, for doing all those sorts of cuts, it's also fantastic. I like the longer pocket clip there. Makes it just hang nice in my pocket. And also adds a little bit of extra flexibility there. So this was an absolutely fantastic knife there. And this is basically a sharpening choil. I really wouldn't use it there. However, I did accidentally stab myself with this knife during some of my cut testing by... basically, after doing 20 or 30 cuts, I would wipe the blade off, basically on my pant leg, to get all the sisal rope debris off of it. And that back end actually caught on my pants. And I was like, uh-oh, and pushed back forward, and that sent the tip into my leg. Just a little bit, but that's that. Okay, and number 2, I have the TS273. Now, I, along with a ton of other people, really aren't super enthused by the orange G10 going on here. I know a lot of people have done the RIT dye for it to make it black or other kind of things. I wouldn't mind kind of substituting that with a different kind of inlay. That might be kind of interesting. But yes, this is a night morning design. It is a frame lock flipper, kind of a clip point, but very large. This is N14C28N. I've aftermarket stonewashed this one, and I think it turned out all right. This has a ceramic ball bearing in the clip. So this one doesn't have any problems with it. However, I did actually purchase another one of these that I gave to another friend last year for Christmas. And he's since lost his ceramic ball. I guess it bent out far enough forward and something was able to push that out through the bottom there. The pocket clip still works decently for them without it, but I think it would be a little less secure. But hey, I don't have any problems on mine. This thing, I think, is ergonomically almost perfect, at least for my hands. My hands are a little bit larger. We do have that beak there, so if your hands are larger than mine, which is possible, but kind of not likely because they're fairly large, then you might have a little bit of problems with this. But otherwise, man, this thing is just fantastic. Just ground nice and thin, like a nice laser beam, very high saber grind, but we do have that swedge kind of thing cut on the top there. Nice and crowned around basically the front half there, as well as the whole flipper area. Super nice. This thing is just a joy to play around with and cut with and everything in between. It's just nice. That's the only thing that I would really say would be a little bit nicer would be change out the inlay there a little bit. That inlay isn't flush, actually. It sticks out above. That actually gives it a little bit more contour. So, and I do appreciate that. I think it would be kind of neat to do this and use some of their snake wood that they've done for some of their fixed blades and their slip joints. I think that would look fantastic in here. What I don't think would look fantastic in there would be their micarta. No, don't bother with that. That's not what we want. But yeah, something like that. If you really wanted to jack the price absolutely through the roof, you could do Timascus there. I don't know. Mostly it just looks like a heat anodized titanium that they can end up charging like 12 times the price for, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, this is an absolutely fantastic cutter and one of the most comfortable knives I've really had in my hands. I am a little bit biased to having a beak. Also carrying a Manix 2XL for a very, very long time, and I'm used to that there. So that might be a little bit of a comfort food for me, but yeah, this is an absolute banger. And that kind of takes me to my number one. And, oh hell, I forget, this is the 380. Yeah, right? It does have that on there? Yeah, it even has it printed on there. This is the TS380. It's in 14C28N. It's really new. The designer of this, his name is Cyrillic of some sort. I don't know if he's Russian, Ukrainian, any of that sort of thing. I specify that because, there is tensions between the countries, but they still kind of speak around the same language. So I'll say it like that. But I don't know exactly why, but this knife just really appeals to me. I really do like the blade shape there. Reminds me a lot of some older military designs, from stuff from World War I and World War II, those sort of things there. But it does have a little bit more of an S-shape grind line that would probably be a lot more difficult for them to do there. I have done slight anodization on the titanium on this. I've kind of bronzed the liners and the back spacer there, and just a little bit more of a gold on the pocket clip, just to have it pop out a little bit there. But man, this thing is really, really super nice and comfortable and chunky in the hand. I put this in my hand, and I really feel like I'm capable of doing any kind of task that a knife is supposed to do. It's kind of like feeling a little bit more, or feeling a little bold or invincible, if you will. Once you get a brand new pair of work boots, yeah, it just has that same kind of appeal to me. Yeah, it's carbon fiber and titanium subframe lock there. I do like the finish on the blade. It's tumbled, but it's definitely had a different finish kind of put on there to begin with. So it's not super reflective, and that definitely helps because this is 14C28N. So glad to see that they have a different finish there going on rather than just satin. Yeah, I'm not quite sure exactly what tickles my fancy about it. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I like to put all my fingers on it. And so that's kind of why it's number one at the moment. Obviously these lists will change here and there. And this one is still kind of new to me. I've had it for, a month and a half or so. So a little bit more recent purchase than a lot of the others on this list. But yeah, there we go. Right now, this is basically my number one. All right. So yeah, that's basically my top 10, what I have of TwoSun so far. There's probably a lot of them that people are surprised I don't have them on my list here, such as the TS129, which is also good, and it would probably be in my runner-up. But, a lot of people really sing its praises, and so I figured I would kind of focus on some others that probably don't get quite as much love. Definitely the Wong knives that I had chosen aren't the TS127. That's probably one of his most popular as well. But what are you going to do? This is my list, and that's kind of what I've thought after kind of having them, using them, sharpening them, all of that sort of stuff. And your opinions may vary, and that's perfectly fine. You can let me know down in the comments. You can call me names, do whatever the hell you want, really. I guess it doesn't really hurt the algorithm. And apparently now that YouTube has removed the dislike counter from being publicly viewable, then yeah, you can downvote the crap out of this, and I guess it won't really matter because it's still viewer interaction. So that's, I don't know, weird. YouTube, you should fix that. But all right. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day and New Year. Yo.